Like, I'm kind of conflicted about Trump, like, with his stance on Gaza, right? To me, that's like...
I totally disagree with him on it. It's hard to reconcile it in many ways. It's hard to reconcile because I see so much hypocrisy in terms of when we say America first, for whatever reason, we have this magic carve out. And you cannot pretend that that's not because AIPAC spends $100 million in our election. And this gets back to what we were talking about, whether it's Big Pharma, whether it's Israel, everyone's for sale in DC. And so I have been very disappointed with Trump on his perspectives about Gaza. I have been disappointed, by the way, he's the last person I'm disappointed with, because I've been disappointed, as we saw all last year, with the conservatives, people that say they're Christians, who are condoning this on the basis of what? Like, you're saying, oh, well, they're Muslims, so who cares? And that gets into our programming, which I've spoken about in my podcast, of this 9/11 programming, where we just don't see Muslims as like human life. And to me, to speak about Gaza and talking about casinos and hotels, and these people just lost their entire families. Yeah. It's so far removed from humanity. And I think it's wrong. And I'm tired of America being used as Israel's piggyback. You know, for whatever reason, everyone can critique every other country for taking money from us. And then there's just, everyone's blind when it comes to Israel. And obviously I paid a very heavy price for saying that last year, but I don't care, because I am truly someone whose values have never been up for sale. Like, I don't care. I will burn everything to the ground and rebuild it. I have to be able to like sleep at night, and to see those Palestinian children, and the images are seared into my brain. The screaming, the crying, the bleeding, the stuff that we saw on X for the first time, largely thanks to Elon freeing the bird, and really realizing how much we had been lied to about what was happening in that region. I just, it was very easy for me to say, take whatever you have to take from me. I have to be on like the human side of things.
I think it's become both sides of the aisle now just see that human people just feel like this is that it's just wrong.
Of course.
What's happened is wrong. Like, probably a year ago, people were afraid to even say that. And now it is what everybody is saying. Like, even Piers Morgan is saying it on his show now. Like, people are saying it's obvious that you can't go and annihilate and genocide this culture and make them disappear. And then Trump to come on top of it and say you're going to go on a lazy river where there's bodies of, like, who could even go to that?
That's a very good point. I mean, who would go to a place like that? Says Theo, right? Because, well, they're talking about the Rivieras over there, Palestine, how Donald Trump is promising at the moment to create all this construction and this tourist attraction. Obviously making a lot of money in the process, right? But look, several things I want to quickly mention here from what Candace Owens is saying. First of all, to Caesar, what is Caesar's? I have to give her some credit. I have to admit that within the situation, at least, within all the chaos that's going on, at least to see such a prominent person within the right, actually, she is on the extreme right practically. She was even fired from the Daily Wire. Imagine. And to see her stand up and criticize Trump directly, because this is an attack directly on Trump, no question. And she says that she is greatly disappointed and that Donald Trump is the latest person to disappoint her at this time. And I understand that she's referring to the most recent person within the Republican Party, I guess within politics, who has disappointed her. But you know, not many people dare to come out publicly and openly and directly criticize Donald Trump like she did, because he quickly gets his MAGA lackeys, the radical and fanatical people who can't understand when their own party is screwed up, when their own leader has failed. So, she points out this America First hypocrisy, which is nothing more than thinly veiled racism, right? That's what America First means, if I'm honest. But then, at the same time, she says that we can't tell the truth because, she says, we're being programmed. Literally, we're being programmed not to respond in a humanitarian way. As if we were saying, look, they are Muslims, they are from another religion, she says. So we don't care that they are being killed and massacred. She says, that's not right. And I agree. She makes a really compelling case from a humanitarian point of view. However, in a way it bothers me because on the one hand I say, to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. I want to acknowledge that she is raising her voice within a party where dissent is not allowed. Within a party where whoever stands up against Trump pays the consequences, a very high price, because Trump is not for freedom of speech. But the problem here is that they knew who Donald Trump was. Every Republican knew very well for years who Donald Trump was. Look, she mentions that there is a $100 million investment by the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee, and that's part of the money used to support political candidates who align with Israel. So, yes, we have propaganda from Israel, but we also have propaganda from Russia. So the point is that those two combine. We have an investment in terms of that propaganda money, in terms of advertising from Israel, financing certain political candidates, but at the same time we have a Russian propaganda that doesn't stop. A Russian propaganda through Fox News, through many right-wing outlets and influencers, through Elon Musk, which definitely, to me, there is no doubt that Elon Musk is a Russian agent at this point. Everything he does, the calls he has with Putin, who, reportedly, he may have had more calls with Putin than Trump. So many are wondering how deep Elon is into his Russia ties. Notice this news article. Republicans are pressuring Trump to resume military and intelligence aid for Ukraine. Listen to that. Republicans are pressuring Trump to resume military and intelligence aid to Ukraine. Let's read a little bit, because this is quite surprising, but they are doing it quietly. Republican lawmakers are increasingly urging President Donald Trump to reverse his decision to pause U.S. military and intelligence assistance to Ukraine, warning that a prolonged halt in aid would have severe consequences for Ukraine's defense capabilities and geopolitical stability. They argue that withholding support could embolden Russia, weaken U.S. influence in the region, and undermine Allied confidence in American commitments. They recognize that Trump has the right to temporarily halt arms shipments to Ukraine to assess the war, pressure NATO allies to increase their contributions, and create a window to negotiate a peace deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But they warn that stopping the flow of arms and ammunition to Ukraine for too long could have a devastating effect on the country's combat capability, undermining its leverage in talks with Russia. They argue that sustained military support is crucial not only for Ukraine's defense, but also for maintaining Western unity and deterring further Russian aggression. And Republican lawmakers say intelligence sharing should resume immediately, at least on intelligence, and ask what the U.S. has to gain by depriving Ukraine of critical battlefield intelligence. In other words, what does the United States have to gain? I say to them, well, tremendous support for Russia. They warn that such a move could shift the balance on the battlefield in Russia's favor, making a negotiated settlement even more difficult. What does Donald Trump have to gain? Supporting Russia is sending a clear message. Putin, I'm with you. Republicans trying not to make too much noise, but more and more, they're starting to raise their voices. They're working to influence Trump, urging him to reconsider his stance on Ukraine, though they avoid making public statements. They know people are dying and they understand that this situation with Russia is no game. But they chose the convicted felon and the insurrectionist. They fucked around. Now they are finding out. And now Candace Owens is raising her voice, but it's too little. Too late.